श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Generally, what we understand, a guru is somebody who manifests and guides us. There have been many Mahapurushas and so on. But actually, Guru Tattva is a teaching principle. And this teaching principle is active all the time, 24 hours every moment, 365 days a year, throughout our life. Sometimes in manifest form and sometimes in unmanifest form. No one in this world is without a guide. Everybody has a guide. When we need it, that guide will appear in a manifest form. Otherwise, it will be in an unmanifest form. But the guidance is always there. One should never feel that now we don't have a guide. Our guide is always there. The entire existence teaches us. The famous example from the Bhagavad Mahapuran comes of Dattatreya Avadhuta. He didn't have one or two gurus, but 24 gurus he had. So, what does these 24 gurus mean? It means that he learned from different things and beings, from the space, from fires, from mountains, from animals, from creatures, even from a young boy. So, whoever he learned from, that entity became his guru for that particular knowledge. So, for us to learn, get the teachings, we have to be always alert, because the entire existence is teaching us all times, every moment. But are we alert to that? When we look at the lotus growing in a pond, that lotus, by just being there, teaches us, even though it is in a dirty water, it is untouched by that dirt. That is giving us a teaching, just by observing that. We observe plants, we observe other creatures in this universe, we observe the elements, we observe other fellow beings, and we learn a lot. Every moment there is a teaching. So, sometimes the Mahapurushas come, but who benefits from them? Sometimes this teaching principle manifests in a form, but who benefits from them? Many people must have come in their contact, or maybe their neighbors and all that thing, but all of those people don't benefit. For example, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, everybody is familiar with. He climbed the Mount Arunachala in Tiruvannamala in Tamil Nadu, and then he never climbed down. 100 years ago, there was not much communication as much as we have now. There was no radio or TV or anything like that, telephone or anything like that. But those who had to take teachings from him and benefit from that, they came to him from different parts of the world. 100 years ago, when transportation and communication was very, not as much as what we have now. People came from England also, they stayed there, took his teachings, benefited from there, and their samadhis are also there in Tiruvannamala, in the Mount Arunachala. Whereas, how many people from Tiruvannamala itself have benefited from him, took his teachings? So, Just by the presence of a Mahapurusha amidst us is not enough. Do we have the sanskara? Do we have the impression? Do we have the inclination to benefit from their teachings? That is also an important factor. Sometimes those who are immediately close to that the great Mahapurusha, they may not be interested in spirituality and they may not think of him as somebody great also, so they will never benefit. Whereas people from far off places, they will come there, they will take his teachings and benefit also. So sometimes, and these Mahapurushas, they manifest in the form, this teaching principle take the manifest form to benefit certain seekers, spiritual seekers from time to time. When it is needed for them that the teaching form, the teaching principle has to take a manifest form to benefit them, then this teaching principle takes a manifest form for the benefit of those seekers. So they will benefit and then go away. Similarly, but it doesn't mean that if somebody doesn't have a teaching principle in manifest form, that doesn't mean that they don't get the guidance. They will get the guidance in an unmanifest form. Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi himself didn't have a manifest teacher in his life. At the age of 17 itself, he realized the self. And just to be fully established in that knowledge, he left Madurai and went and stayed on Mount Arunachala. That doesn't mean that he was not guided. He was guided. He had an unmanifest guru. So manifest and unmanifest form, the teaching principles take. Moreover, the supreme guru, the highest guru, ultimately is our own Atma Rama. Our Atma Rama is the highest guru, highest spiritual guide. And then when we realize that there is no difference between the self, Atma, Paramatma, Guru, Atma Rama, there is no difference. So ultimately our own Atma Rama is our guru, is our teacher, keeps guiding us. So just because somebody was there from whom we were taking teachings and suddenly that form became unmanifest, that doesn't mean that we are left without a guide, without guidance. The guidance will always be there in manifest or unmanifest form. When we need it in a manifest form, it will appear in a manifest form. If not that particular form, then through some other form. But the manifestation will be there if it is required to a manifest form. Otherwise, through unmanifest form, the teaching is always there, the guidance will always be there. We will always be guided. So, of course, each and every person who comes in contact with such great Mahatmas, they will take as much as what their sanskaras are, whether they are qualified to take the teachings or not. Otherwise, there have been great Mahatmas, but there were people around him who couldn't take any teachings from him. They were there around, or they can see him and they were in awe, but didn't benefit from him at all through the teachings. So it also depends upon whether we are qualified for that or not. Those who are not qualified, they will not even go to such a person. Great Mahatmas are there. How many people go to him? No. Those who have got spiritual inclination, those who have brought those sanskaras for the Adhyatma, spiritual life from the past life, only they will go to such great Mahapurushas, great Mahatmas, and then they take the teachings and benefit. Not everybody. And such people, those who take the teachings, they may come from far off places also. At the same time, those who are near him, they will not be bothered at all. A great Mahatma we had in Mumbai itself, Nisargadatta Maharaj. Those from Mumbai must be familiar with the name Nisargadatta Maharaj. He was a great Mahatma, great realized master. And he was not that educated also. He was a grahastha and he used to make these bidis. And that was his business. He used to make bidis and sell that. And he had a small shop in Mumbai. We know in congested localities how the shops are. Only the shopkeeper can sit in that shop. The customers have to stand outside. That kind of thing he had. And when he realized the self, and he realized the self, that doesn't mean that he didn't do any scriptural study, but that doesn't mean that he had no knowledge. He must have done it all in his past life. Now, how many people came from far off places, from Europe and US, to this Nisargadatta Maharaj to take the teachings? And he lived in a chal just with one room kitchen and a rickety wooden ladder to go up on his loft where only 10 people can sit at a time. That's all. And he refused to change the place. And he said that those who cannot climb this rickety wooden staircase and come here need not come to me. Plain and simple. And people came from US and Europe and other places to take his teachings. But how many people from among his neighbors and from that locality benefited from him? For them, he was just a bidiwala. If anybody inquired about Nisargadatta Maharaj, who Nisargadatta Maharaj? Of course, you are talking about that bidiwala, he stays here only. So how many of them benefited? Unless that sanskar is there, unless that inclination is there, even if a great Mahapurusha may be amidst us, yet we will not benefit from him. This is what it is. So we have to bring this sanskara from the past. We have to be qualified for that. Only those people benefit from the teachings of such great Purushas. Even if they are not staying anywhere near him, they will come from far off places. They will be drawn towards him. And then they will take the teachings and benefit. At the same time, there may be so many people staying around him, but have no value for him and no teachings from him. So like that it is, but that doesn't mean that those who are qualified, those who are sincere spiritual seekers, they will never have any guide at all. They will always be guided. Whether there is somebody is in manifest form or not, the guidance will always be there. There will be no time when there will be no guidance. So there should be no despair. If a manifest form becomes unmanifest, there should be no despair, there should be no grief at all. The guidance will always be there. That teaching principle will always guide us. So this despair should not be there, this grief should not be there, loss of a manifest form of a teaching principle. So this significance we have to understand. Only those who are qualified and those who have the sanskara, only they will know it. Otherwise, most of the people will have no value for such people. This is what it is. So if we understand this teaching principle, we'll always be with a guide. We should never consider ourselves to be a guideless person, a guideless spiritual seeker. No, the guide is always there. Whether manifest form is there or not there, in unmanifest form, we are always guided at all times. So there should be no fear, there should be no grief, there should be no despair at all. Absolutely. We have great works of great masters, saints and sages, they have left. Even if their form has become manifest, their teachings continue. So that is how today also we are benefiting from the teachings which Adi Shankaracharya ji left. We are studying, we are studying his text, Atmabodh now. So even if he is not present, but he is continuously giving us the teachings, even today, through his text. So these Mahatmas are there or not there, we are always benefiting from their teachings in one way or the other. We are always benefiting. So having said that, now we will continue with our study of Atmabodha. In our last session, we did up to the 35th shloka. In 35th shloka, Adi Shankaracharya ji says, Aham akashavat sarvam bahihi antargatah chutah sada sarva samashuddhah nisangah nirmalah achalah. Now, in our last session, specifically in the shlokas from 31st to this 35th, we were told about how we cannot be this gross physical form, the body. And then we cannot be the sense organs, we cannot be the pranas, we cannot be the mind or the intellect. So this was told to us through various shlokas from 31st to 35th that we did. And also in our last session, we saw 14 reasons why we cannot be this gross physical form, the body. And several of these 14 reasons will be applicable to the sense organs also, to the pranas also, to the mind also, and to the intellect also. But we have just taken the reasoning for the gross physical form, the body. Now, we'll briefly go through the 14 reasons that we did last time. And then we'll dwell upon the last one, the 14th reason, which is the subtlest of all the reasons, and some of us must have found it a little difficult to comprehend also. So we'll go into the details of that as well. Now, the first reason that we came up with was, of course, we are none of the external conditionings. External conditionings like conditioning of name, conditioning of qualification, conditioning of profession, conditioning of religion, conditioning of caste or creed or race or nationality, and these are the conditioning, external conditioning. So we are none of these. Then we started the reasoning with the first one, that whatever is mine cannot be I. This was the first grossest reason we took. Whatever is mine cannot be I. That which I own cannot be I. So certain things I own, the home, the computer, the cell phone, the car, and so on. These are the things we own, but we are not that. Similarly, when we refer to our body also, we call it as mine. As we call these things as mine, my cell phone, my car, my house, and so on. Similarly, we refer to our body also as mine. My leg, my hand, my stomach, my eyes, my mind, my brain, my intellect, and so on. So anything we refer to as my cannot be I. This is the grossest reason we saw. Then we moved on to the second reason, that if any part of this body is taken away, it doesn't affect our existence. If there is no leg or there is no arm, or a particular, if the eyes are not there, or there is a hearing problem, the existence continues. Or we go to the internal organs also. Sometimes some of the organs, many of the organs can be removed from the pelvic region also. The entire organ from the pelvic region is removed, and yet it will not affect the existence. The body will continue to exist, though it will not at all be healthy nor comfortable. We saw stomach, spleen, gallbladder, one kidney, one lung, then 80% of the intestine, 75% of the liver, half the brain. All of these are removed, yet the body can survive. If the blood becomes toxic, the entire blood is removed, somebody else's blood is put. If heart is not functioning properly, it has become weak, somebody else's heart is available, that also is replaced. Kidney, both kidneys are failed, somebody else's kidney is available, it can function in that. So which part of this body am I exactly? If not heart, if not brain, if not blood, which part of the body am I? So then we moved on to the third reason. The third reason was that this body is an abode, is a home, is a world for trillions and trillions of germ cells. Trillions and trillions of germ cells. In fact, according to the research, the body is just not you. It is just you alone, but there are so many microbes are there. It is more microbe than human. There are more living organisms, microorganisms in the body as well as on the surface of the body than there are human population on the planet Earth. And many of these, they are born there inside our body, they live there, they die there, and they are very much important for the health of this body. Now, for those trillions and trillions of organisms, they do not know any other world than this body. They call this body as their home, their world. So there are so many owners to this body. And how can I call that as mine, leave alone claiming it as I? So then we also saw that this game of birth and death goes on in the body since our birth itself. Every moment 25 million cells are produced in our body, and that many cells die also every moment in our body. So this game of birth and death is going on. Every minute 50,000 dead skin cells fall off the body, and every 27 days a new skin is grown. Every 7 days we grow a new body. Everything changes every 7 years, except the cells in the nervous system. The neurons don't change. It is the same with which you were born. Otherwise, the whole body has changed. Most of the cells which were there at birth are not there today. It keeps on changing. So what part is exactly am I? So I cannot be any of these. So this is the three reasons we have seen. Then we moved on to the fourth reason. Fourth reason was this body is 100% made out of food. Okay, this body is 100% made out of food. The body was produced. First, the seed was produced in the parents from the food they ate. Then the fetus remained in the womb of to be mother, and that fetus was sustained on the food which the mother ate. And then when the baby was born, that baby was fed on the milk produced in the mother from the food she ate. And after the baby is weaned away from mother's milk, once it grows its teeth, then it is fed on the food. So this is 100% made out of food. But when we look at the food, we don't have I notion, but that food itself has become this body. So when we look at food, we don't have I notion. Why should we have I notion in this food? This food and that food. Even in for some animals, this body itself is a food for them. And then when the body becomes only at the existent level, when it stops manifesting, expressing itself at the level of knowledge and bliss, only at the level of existence it is there, then it will become food for other creatures also. So it is 100% food. If I do not have I notion in the food, how can I notion in this food called the body? Then we moved on to the fifth reason, the Jada Chetan Bheda. Jada Chetan Bheda, inert, insentient, the difference between inert and insentient and that which is living or sentient. So the body is inert, insentient, non-living, and consciousness is that which enlivens the body. As actually electrical gadgets cannot function on its own unless it is connected to consciousness. So otherwise these electrical gadgets are useless without electricity. Similarly, if this body, because consciousness is manifesting through this body at the level of Sat, Chit and Ananda, and therefore it appears to be alive, sentient, living. And then if suppose a hand is cut off this body, then the same consciousness will express to his hand only at the level of existence, not at the level of knowledge or bliss. Only at the level of existence. So it will appear completely jada. It will not be enlivened. So it has to be connected, because now that intellect in which the consciousness reflects, that reflecting medium is not there in that cut off hand. So therefore it will appear like inert and insentient object. So Jada Chetan Bheda is there. I am the Chetan consciousness, conscious being, and the body is inert. Then these are the 5 reasons we have seen. Then we move on to the 6th one, Drashta Drushya Bheda, the seer seen difference. What is the difference between the seer seen? Whatever is seen cannot be the seer. The seer has to be separate from that which is seen. Okay. Because the seen is always inert and insentient. Yad drishyam tad jadam. Whatever is seen is inert and insentient. Now, some people will say that, well, we are seeing another human being. How can you call that human being insentient? Well, we are seeing the human being, no doubt. But what we are seeing is that we are seeing the inert body. We are not seeing the consciousness which is manifesting, which is expressing to that inert body. Like we see the fan moving, but we cannot see the electricity that is powering the fan. We can see air conditioning working, we can see the computer working, but we cannot see the electricity that is powering it. Otherwise, it is an inert object only. Similarly, what we see is inert body. If that consciousness doesn't express to that body, then it is only at the level of existence only. So that consciousness cannot be seen by the eyes. Eyes can see only that which is inert and insentient. The object can be seen, but not that which is expressing to the object. So yad drishyam tad jadam. The conscious knower cannot be seen by the eyes. Only that which is inert and insentient only can be seen. So seer cannot be seen. Then we moved on to the 7th reasoning, that is the Swagata Veda. Swagata Veda is the difference within the body. Now, in this body, there are different parts are there. Different organs are there. Liver, heart, kidney, spleen, gallbladder, different organs, external organs like eyes, ears, nose, and so on. So these are different parts of the body are there. And they have got different parts, and all these different parts These bodies are there, but each part will not know about the other part. But I as consciousness, we pervade through each and every cell of this body. If there is a pinprick also in any corner of this body, even in the smallest toe, we are conscious of that. We know it. But maybe our kidney may not know, maybe our heart may not know, maybe our the spleen may not know. But consciousness is one undivisible consciousness, all pervading consciousness. We are in and through each and every cell of this body, indivisible. So the body has got several parts, and I am the conscious knower pervading through each and every cell of this body. But that consciousness is not limited to any particular cell as such. It is throughout the body. So I cannot be the body. Then we saw that which has got swagata bheda, that is internal differences, then that is subject to modification. So we saw it is subject to modification, it is vikari. So body is continuously subject to modification. It keeps on changing. Like our eyesight changes. If it becomes weak, then we need the use of specs. Our hearing changes, then we need the hearing aid. And then the hair, which was black once upon a time, it becomes white. So these are the changes that are taking place. Wrinkles come on the skin, and so on, it goes on. So because it has got different parts, it is subject to modification, vikara. I am undivisible, indivisible, one whole homogeneous mass of consciousness, and therefore there is no question of any changes in that. Therefore, I cannot be this body. I am the knower of all the changes there. I cannot be this body. Then we went on to the next reason. The ninth reason was that there are many cases, scientifically studied cases, where the subjects had remembered memories of their past lives. There are many cases, like Dr. Stevenson's, he has a book on 20 cases of reclaimed memory. He has studied more than 3,000 subjects. And then in 700 cases, he found the information so accurate which could be verified from the past life. So now, many of times you find a child of 4, 5 years, 6-year-old kid asking his parents that actually his house is here and so on. In some particular village, his family is there, his wife and children and so on. Now, if that child is asked, you were earlier someone else, and then that body died, and now you have been born like that and you have this body. If that child is asked, are you the body? He'll vehemently deny it. I cannot be the body because I am the same person, but at that time I had a different body which died of so and so reason, and now I have got a different body. So I'm sure I'm not the body. He may not be spiritual or whatever it is, but because of his memory, he'll definitely say that I cannot be the body because there was a different body I had and I am the same person. So this also proves that we cannot be the body. Then further, we saw in the 10th reason, we saw that this body is available for our experience only in the waking plane of consciousness. It is not available for our experience in the dream and deep sleep state. So we saw the example also, if we have, for example, if we have taken a belly full of food and then we have gone to sleep, then we may dream that we are starving and desperately looking for a morsel of food. But that means that this gross physical body is not available for our experience in the dream state. Had it been available, then we should not have the experience of starving because we had a belly full of food in the waking plane and then went to sleep. And then we are dreaming that we are starving desperately and looking for food. And plus, in the deep sleep state, of course, neither the gross physical body nor the subtle body is available for our experience. So that which is available in one plane of consciousness and not available in another plane of consciousness cannot be real. But I am in and through all the 3 planes of consciousness, waking, dream, and the deep sleep state. I illumine all the 3 planes of consciousness as consciousness. So I am in and through all the 3 planes, but this body is available to me only in the waking plane. So I cannot be this body. Then we went on to the 11th reason, that we are the knower of changes. And to know the changes, we have to be to know any change, we have to be outside the field of change. Remember this, we cannot know the change taking place in that particular thing if we are part of the change. So to know the change, we have to be outside the field of change. So, and we took the example of the 3 trains moving in the same direction at the same speed. And if you are sitting in the middle train and we observe the other 2 trains, we find as if they are not moving. Because we are also part of transformation, so we will not be able to comprehend the transformation taking place in other 2 trains because they are also moving. But if a person is standing outside on a bridge, he can see that all the 3 trains are moving in the same direction at the same speed. Similarly, we have known the changes taking place in our body right from our childhood to through the teenage years and youth and middle age and so on to the old age. We have seen the changes taking place in our sense organs, the power of our eyes, the power of our hearing and so on. We have seen the changes taking place in our mind also, the quality on a type of feelings and emotions that we entertain as a child, as a teenager, as a youth, as a middle ager, and in our old age and so on, and the type of thoughts that we came to our mind or intellect as a child, as a teenager and so on. So I am a witness to all these changes. So I know that my body has changed, my sense organs have changed, my pranas have changed, my mind has changed, my intellect has changed. If I know, if I am any of these, a constantly changing body cannot comprehend the constantly changing mind and intellect. If I am the body, then I would have not known the changes taking place in the mind, intellect, and the sense organs. Or if I am the mind, a constantly changing mind wouldn't have known the changes taking place in the intellect and the body. And if I am a constantly changing intellect, then I wouldn't have known the changes taking place in the mind and the body. But I have known the changes have taken place in all these entities. Therefore, I have to be an entity outside the field of change. That means outside this body, sense organs, pranas, and the mind and the intellect to know these changes. And therefore, I cannot be any of these panchakoshas. Then we went on to the 12th reason. The 12th reason, we took this from the law of physics, law of conservation of matter and energy. Law of conservation of matter and energy, this is a school level physics. It teaches us that matter can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be transformed from one form to another. Similarly, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed from one form to another. Simple law of conservation. Now, both matter and energy and their transformation. To know, because matter and energy both are inert and insentient. To know their existence and their transformation, there has to be a conscious knower. Without the conscious knower, the existence and transformation of matter and energy will not be known. So if there is a conscious knower to know the existence and transformation of matter and energy, this conscious knower also should not be subject to any transformation. It has to be outside the field of transformation, entities called as the matter and energy. Moreover, this conscious knower also cannot be created nor destroyed. So if the law of conservation is applicable to matter and energy, it should be all the more applicable to this conscious knower also, at the same time with one rider that it cannot be subject to transformation unlike matter and energy. So this conscious knower cannot be created nor destroyed nor is subject to any transformation. So there is no birth for this conscious knower and there is no death for this conscious knower. There was no time when this conscious knower never existed, and there will be no time when it will cease to exist. It has always existed. So this we had taken as the 12th reason. Then we came to the 13th reason. Jnata Jneya Bheda. Knower known difference. That which is known cannot be the knower. So knower cannot be known by the usual means of knowledge. Through the intellect, we can know everything, but we cannot know the self through the intellect. There is a reason. Because this intellect itself is powered by that consciousness, by that pure self. So it cannot know the self. Like in the light of torch, we can see all the objects in the dark room. But in the same light of torch, we cannot see the very battery on which the torch is functioning. So this knower known difference is there. This knower can never be known. One has to transcend the intellect itself to abide in the self, to have the full awareness of the self. As we go further in our Atmabodh shlokas, we'll come to that. Now the last and the subtlest of reasons, which is where we got stuck last time, that many people found it very difficult to comprehend it. So now we have to pay attention to this. What is the last reason, the 14th reason why we cannot be this body or any of these body, sense organs, or pranas, or the mind and its contents, all the emotions and feelings and sentiments, or the intellect and its contents called the thought? Why we cannot be any of these? So now the 14th reason is the substratum and the illuminator. Wherever the substratum and the illuminator are one, that entity is an illusion. It will have a relative existence, a relative reality, but no absolute reality. Now, one example which we had seen last time was of the dream world. Now, this dream world, how is this dream world? We have had from the waking plane of consciousness, we go to sleep, and then we enter into the dream plane of consciousness. What is this dream world all about? Dream world is nothing but a projection of our own individual mind on the substratum of consciousness. It is a projection of our mind, and then this projection of our mind, the dream world, it is on the substratum of consciousness, and it is illumined also by consciousness. How is it illumined by consciousness? Otherwise, how will we see the dream? Because our eyes are closed. We are asleep. We are in the dream world. We are in the dream state of consciousness. Our eyes are closed, and suppose it is a moonless night. All the lights are off. Doors and windows are closed. We have pulled a sheet over our head, and yet we dream that we are on the river bank on a bright sunny morning, and children are playing, birds are chirping, and so on. In whose light are we seeing this bright sunny morning in our dream? That is in the light of consciousness. Our consciousness is illuminating the dream world. It is the substratum of the dream world also, and it is illuminating the dream world also. And then this dream world is an illusion. When we wake up, but remember this, as long as we are a dreamer in the dream world, it is not an illusion for us. All the experiences of the dream world for a dreamer is as much real as the waking experience. Only when the dreamer wakes up and identifies with the waking world and the waking self and becomes a waker, from waker's standpoint, he calls the dream world as an illusion. While he is in the dream world, he doesn't call it as an illusion. When a tiger is chasing him, it is not an illusion for him. He'll be struggling on his bed. So, as a dreamer, the dream world is as much real to us as the waking world is real to us. Land. So, water is subtler than earth, and it is also larger. So, obviously, the subtle water is supporting the gross earth in the planet Earth. Now, one may find this one a little difficult to comprehend, how that water, 75% water, large area is full of water, and this is supporting the 25% land. One may find it difficult. But this planet Earth is surrounded by atmospheric gases, nitrogen, oxygen, and so on. It is supported by that. Without the support of these gases, this life cannot survive on this planet. So it is subtler than this solid and liquid, these gases. So it is all nicely covered up in this gas, this planet Earth, protected also very well there. And that is how the life is sustained there. Now, so solid is supported by liquid, solid and liquid is supported by gas. Even these three will find it difficult to comprehend. Now let us move on to another level. All the planets stars, comet, asteroids, they are all supported, they are all suspended in space. Space is the subtlest among the four. Solid earth, liquid water, then this gaseous atmosphere. So solid, liquid, gas, and it is the subtlest of the four. Space is the subtlest compared to the other three. And the subtlest is supporting, because all the planets, stars, like comets, asteroids, they are all suspended in space. So space is supporting the entire thing. Entire galaxies, billions and billions of planets and stars, billions of cosmoses, it is supported by this space. It is all in the space. The space is subtlest of all. Now, all the four elements, like if you take it, the earth, water, air, and space, they are all inert and insentient. To know their existence, there has to be a consciousness. So consciousness is subtler than even space. And even the space is supported by this consciousness. The adhisthana, the substratum of the space also is this consciousness. So space and then the other elements, the air, the Agni Tattva, Jala, Prithvi, and all those other elements, it is all supported by this consciousness, which is subtlest of all and the knower of all. So this is supported by consciousness, and it is again seen in the light of consciousness. So the whole thing is seen in the light of consciousness, and therefore it has got a relative existence. For a dreamer, the dream world has got a relative reality as long as he is a dreamer. Similarly, for a waker also, this waking world is a reality as long as he is a waker. And until he awakens to a higher dimension of consciousness, then from that standpoint, then he'll say that there is no difference between the waking state and the dream state. We see in this Atmabodh itself, in the 6th shloka, Adi Shankaracharya ji very clearly says in the 6th shloka that Sansara sapnatulyo hi ragadveshadi sankulah swakale satyavad bhati prabodhe satya sadbhave. So this entire sansara is made up of this raga and dvesha. In its own time it appears real, but when we awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness, to a higher reality, then it becomes unreal. It has got a relative existence. This we have seen the same Atmabodh 6th shloka is there. So similarly, as the dream world was real to the dreamer, a dreamer never says that it is an illusion while he is experiencing the miserable experience there. He never says it is an illusion. I should not bother about it. Let the tiger chase me. It is anyway a dream. No. Only when he awakens to the waking plane of consciousness from the waking state, from that standpoint, now he calls that dream as an illusion. It was just a dream. It was just an illusion. We shouldn't have taken seriously. But did he say that when he was dreaming? No. Similarly, as long as we are waker in the waking plane of consciousness, this waking world is real for us. The experiences are real for us. This knowledge is only a paroksha jnana. We have to convert this knowledge into aparoksha anubhuti. Acquiring paroksha jnana is not that difficult. Okay, it will take some understanding, but we can acquire this paroksha jnana. But then the next step is converting the paroksha jnana into aparoksha anubhuti, aparoksha bodha. That takes time. So this substratum and the illuminator of the dream world and the waking world is the same consciousness. And therefore, waking world has got a relative reality, not an absolute reality. So if you go back to the example of the water and the wave, as long as water identifies itself, there is no issue, there is no problem. When the water starts identifying with the wave, then it suffers the limitations of the wave. The moment it realizes that it is water, it is freed from the limitations of the wave. Similarly, as long as a dreamer identifies with a dream character, he suffers the miseries of that dream character. the moment he awakens to the waking plane of consciousness, immediately he is relieved from the sufferings of the dream character. Similarly, in the waking plane of consciousness, when I, the pure self, in the dream world, the dreamer identified with one of the dream characters and suffered it. In the waking world, I, the pure self, identify as an ego, I identify myself with this one particular form, body, mind, intellect, equipment, and then I suffer the limitations of that particular form, having identified with that. And then, unless I awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness, I will continue suffering like this. Unless the dreamer awakens to the waking plane of consciousness, he will continue suffering in the dream. Similarly, the waking plane of consciousness also, unless I awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness, I will continue suffering here in the relative existence. Waking up from the dream is easier than waking plane because the dream world is a projection of one mind, one individual mind. Whereas the waking world is the projection of the total mind, samashti. It is the projection of the total mind. And therefore, we see the same world again and again. We don't see the same dream again and again. Every time we go to sleep, we'll see some other dream. But whenever we wake up, we see the same world because this is the projection of the total mind, not the individual mind. And transcending this waking plane of consciousness, which is a projection of the total mind, takes a longer time. It is only the question of time. The awareness has to come when we awaken to a higher dimension of consciousness. So here, now, so the substratum and illuminator of the dream world and the waking world. A dreamer identifies with the dream character, and the waker, the same ego, identifies with the one of the characters, the one form. For one particular form, he identifies and suffers the limitation of that form in this waking world. And as long as he has not transcended his identity with that form, he'll continue to suffer. And if he doesn't realize, if he doesn't transcend in this life, then it will continue then in the next life and the next life and the next life, until he realizes, he dissatisfied with this thing and then transcends it. Then he is out of this cycle of birth and death, repeated cycle of birth and death. So now I hope this thing is much clearer to everybody. If there are any doubts, we'll take it up in the question answer session. Maybe not in this session, but maybe in the next session. Now, having said that, we'll continue with our text in the next shloka. Now, in the 35th shloka, which was the concluding shloka for the last session, Aham akashavat sarvam bahihi antargatah chutah sada sarva samashuddhah nissangah nirmalah achalah. This was the last shloka we took last time. Now here Adi Shankaracharya is explaining how is this all pervasiveness. Actually, if you look at it, if one entity is ekameva advitiya, then there is no question of all pervasiveness, because that alone exists and nothing else exists. All pervasiveness is in comparison with other things. So therefore, this Sarva Shaktiman or all powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. So these are the things attributed to the Ishvara, not to the Paramatma, to the pure self. Because that alone exists and nothing else exists. When there is nothing to compare, so how can we say that which is not all pervading and which is all pervading? So there are two different things are there. Here we can call that Ishvara is all pervasive and Jiva is not all pervasive. So like that. But when it comes to Paramatma, nothing else is there other than itself, the pure self, other than itself. And therefore, what is the comparison? Then nothing is there. So here, Akashavat Sarvam. So as now he gives an example like the space. Space is everywhere. There is no inside the body also everywhere. In every cell there is a space. We also saw that every atom has got space. In each atom, 99.9999, 16 times you'll have to put 9. That much percentage of atom is empty space. In a solid looking piece of iron also there is an empty space there inside every atom. So that is all pervasive. Similarly, this pure self, this Atma, this pure awareness, blissful awareness, that is also all pervasive in and through everything and being. Because that alone exists and nothing else exists. All others just appears to be. Bahihi antah gatah chutah. Outside, inside, everywhere it is full. And changeless, Sada Sarva Samashuddha, everywhere at all times it is the same and pure, Nisangaha, without unattached to anything, and Nirmalaha, without any blemish, and Achalaha. Achalaha means there is no movement in that. When we are limited to a particular form, I can move from one chair to another chair because limited by the form. But space is not limited, so it cannot say that I want to go and meet the Delhi space. No, because there is no division between Mumbai space or Delhi space. It is the same. So there is no difference. So therefore, Achalaha, there is no movement in that.
Swamiji, no sound. Swamiji, there is no sound from your side. I think you will take over now, Swamiji. Hmm. Yeah, no, now it's working all right, I think. Yeah. Let yeah, take over, Swamiji.
Okay, so now this particular shloka here, Nitya Shuddha Vimukta Ekam. So always Shuddha, Nitya Shuddha, and Vimukta, always ever free. Ekam, one non-dual reality. Akhanda Anandam Advayam. Akhanda Anandam Advayam. Akhanda Anandam Advayam means indivisible. There are no parts to that, indivisible. And then Anandam, of the nature of bliss. And Advayam, non-dual. Now, non-dual, of course, the self is non-dual. In that also now, there is another thing that when we call it as Akhanda, and this is non-dual Anandam. Non-dual Anandam means what? What is the Anandam of duality? All the experiences that we have, they are all the experiences in duality. We echo out the joys, pleasure or happiness from the world outside. All our experiences are of the joy is when we see something good, when we hear something good, when we smell something good, when we taste something good. So it is always in the realm of duality. This Akhanda Anandam Advayam, this Anandam is not because of experiencing something external outside us. This is a non-dual bliss without any need for anything. So this is a non-dual bliss. So that is the Ananda that is spoken of here. So Nitya Shuddha Vimukta Ekam Akhanda Anandam Advayam. Then Satyam, Satyam that which doesn't change, Satyam, Jnanam of the nature of knowledge or awareness, pure awareness, and Anantam. Anantam means where there is no limitation of time. So that Brahma Aham Eva Tat. So I am that Brahman. So here again, Adi Shankaracharya ji is explaining, is giving the pointers to that particular self, that it is Nitya, eternal, again beyond the limitations of time, pure and ever free. There was no time when it was in bondage. Self is never in bondage. So actually, to call that it has been liberated, that is also wrong. In a manner of saying, we say that we get liberated from our own ignorance. It is only our ignorance that has created this bondage. Otherwise, we are ever free. If that ignorance is removed, we will discover that there was no time when we were not free. We are always free. So Nityam, Shuddha, Vimukta, Ekam, Akhanda Anandam Advayam, non-dual, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Yat Param, Brahma Eva Tat. So I think we will conclude here at this shloka, and the next shlokas we'll take in our next session. So we'll conclude this year in the 36 shloka. From the next session, we'll take up the 37 shloka for discussion.
Yeah. Swamiji.
The Shanti part.
Swamiji, still one bhajan she's going to sing.
Okay.
I asked her to. So after that we'll do it. Sai, please go ahead. Sai.
Yeah.
Sai, and let Anjali sing the second line. Only one person, otherwise you can sing the chorus line. Not two or three persons. Okay.
Yeah.
You got the point, no?
Yeah.
Because too many voices distorts the sound.
Okay.
If you can repeat, and even second speed is not necessary. Even one speed, if you can conclude after the first speed.
Okay.
So
yes.
Yeah.
So
second.
ये गाना है क्या? साधु संत फकीरा जाने सब है तेरो नाम, सब है एक नाम। बोल मन अल्लाह मालिक, बोल मन साई। कोई बोले हरि हरि, कोई बोले राम राम, बोले हरि हरि, कोई बोले राम राम, कोई बोले दुर्गा काली, कोई बोले साई राम, कोई बोले दुर्गा काली, कोई बोले साई राम, कोई बोले हरि हरि, कोई बोले राम राम, कोई बोले नारायण अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह, कोई बोले नारायण अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह, कोई बोले नानक बुद्ध माया, कोई बोले नानक बुद्ध माया। साधु संत फकीरा जाने सब है तेरो नाम, साधु संत फकीरा जाने सब है तेरो नाम। बोल मन अल्लाह मालिक, बोल मन अल्लाह मालिक, बोल मन साई राम। कोई बोले कोई बोले दुर्गा काली, कोई बोले साई राम, कोई बोले नारायण अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह, कोई बोले नारायण अल्लाह बिस्मिल्लाह, कोई बोले नानक बुद्ध माया, कोई बोले नानक बुद्ध माया। साधु संत फकीरा जाने सब है तेरो नाम, साधु संत फकीरा जाने सब है तेरो नाम। बोल मन अल्लाह मालिक, बोल मन साई राम, बोल मन अल्लाह मालिक, बोल मन साई राम। कोई बोले
Swamiji, Swamiji, Yogi bhai, unmute Swami. Swamiji,
Yes.
this bhajan was very favorite of Gopal Krishna Swami.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
at our each meeting, Swamiji will ask Anjali to sing this bhajan.
Oh, good.
And as I told you before, Chaya Mukherjee is a backbone of our group,
Mhm.
whereas Anjali is our life of our group.
Okay. So one is gross, the other is subtle. Gross substratum. The subtle one.
Anjali, thank you very much. And Swamiji, Shanti Path will do.
Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Swamiji, Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om to everyone.
Swamiji, next time you tell us about how to make our Parokshagnan Aparokshagnan.
We come to that because the following shlokas after 37 shloka onwards, we'll be focusing on that. Adi Shankara is talking on that only.
So that by end of the Atmabodh, we become realized.
The Paroksha Jnana has to be converted into Aparoksha Anubhuti.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Swamiji. Hari Om.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Yeah.